Throughout history, some incredible nations have taken the spotlight, but as we all know, nothing lasts forever, and many of these empires eventually faded away. Out of the 25 most powerful nations that have ever walked the earth, only one is still standing today. So, what was it that made these nations so powerful back in the day? What was their secret sauce? Let's dive in and explore the fascinating stories behind their rise and fall. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to look at what made history's greatest nations so powerful. But before we do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos. In the early 1900s, Great Britain was truly the heavyweight champion of the world. Can you believe it? They had the largest empire in history, controlling nearly a quarter of the globe. With a booming economy and a military that could pack a punch, they were pretty much unstoppable. But then came the two world wars, and wow, did things take a turn. Great Britain's global influence started to slip away faster than you could imagine. By the end of the century, they had lost most of their empire and found themselves in a much smaller role on the world stage. Still, it's interesting to note that many historians still regard Great Britain as one of the most powerful nations in history. So, what was it that made this nation such a force to be reckoned with in the first place? Britain's rise to power is fascinating, and a huge part of that story is its geographical location. Being an island off the coast of mainland Europe gave Great Britain a pretty significant edge. When it came to defense, think about it. Invading an island is no easy feat. This natural barrier meant that Britain could breathe a little easier, focusing on building up its military and navy without the constant worry of being attacked by continental powers. It's like having a solid fortress around you, right? Now, let's talk about the power of the seas. Britain's island status didn't just keep it safe, it also allowed the country to control crucial maritime routes. This was absolutely vital for projecting power globally and establishing a vast empire. The Royal Navy, one of the most formidable naval forces in history, played a key role in this. With it, Britain could not only defend its shores, but also dominate trade routes, ensuring that its shipping lanes remained safe and open for commerce. And let's not forget how this naval strength was essential for Britain's global trade network. The ability to protect its merchant ships meant that Britain could engage in trade with distant lands, enriching the nation and expanding its influence around the world. It's a classic example of how geography can shape history in remarkable ways. Britain's rise to power can be largely attributed to its impressive economic strength, which really set the stage for its dominance on the global scene. It was one of the first nations to industrialize, which gave it a massive edge over its competitors. Think about it. Industrialization sparked a boom in manufacturing, creating tons of new jobs and generating incredible wealth for the nation. Now, let's not forget about Britain's access to raw materials. With colonies around the world, it had a steady supply of resources like cotton, coal, and iron, fueling its factories and driving economic growth. This economic muscle allowed Britain to build a powerful military, which in turn funded exploration and colonization efforts. For example, the British Empire expanded rapidly, establishing trade routes and colonies in places like India and Africa. This not only brought in wealth but also spread British influence globally. So, you see, it was this combination of industrial prowess and resource access that truly propelled Britain to the forefront of global power. Britain's cultural influence really played a huge part in its rise to power, and it's fascinating to see how that unfolded. The British Empire, known for its cultural imperialism, spread its values and traditions far and wide. This wasn't just about control, it was about making British culture the norm in many places. Think about it. English became the global language of business and diplomacy, and British literature, music, and fashion influenced countless societies. This cultural dominance helped legitimize British rule in its colonies, making it seem acceptable for other nations to fall under British governance. It's like they wrapped their empire in a cozy blanket of culture that made it easier for people to accept their authority. On top of that, Britain's cultural impact fostered a strong sense of national identity and unity back home. This unity was crucial, especially when it came to mobilizing resources for war and expanding the empire. People rallied around shared cultural symbols, and that collective spirit made it much easier for Britain to push forward with its ambitions. It's a wild mix of culture, identity, and power, don't you think? The decline of Great Britain is quite a fascinating topic, and it really boils down to a few key factors that reshaped its status in the world. First off, after the Second World War, Britain's economy was in shambles. The war left cities in ruins, and the nation struggling to rebuild. making it super tough to maintain its vast global empire. This economic strain was like a heavy anchor that pulled down its influence. Then, you've got the emergence of new superpowers. Like the United States and the Soviet Union, they stepped onto the world stage with fresh energy and ambitions, overshadowing Britain's once dominant presence. It was like watching a once famous rock band being outperformed by a new pop sensation. Lastly, let's not forget the rising tide of independence among Britain's colonies. Countries like India and Nigeria were eager to break free from colonial rule, leading to the eventual dissolution of the British Empire. This wave of independence not only diminished Britain's global power, but also marked a significant shift in the geopolitical landscape. So, when you put all this together, it's clear that a combination of economic struggles, the rise of new powers, and the push for independence all played a huge role in the decline of Great Britain. Quite the story, isn't it? Ancient Rome is widely regarded as one of the most powerful civilizations in history. At its peak, the Roman Empire stretched from Britain to Egypt, and from Spain to Mesopotamia. It was a vast and diverse realm that encompassed many different cultures and peoples. Ancient Rome was able to achieve such great power through a combination of military strength, political organization, and cultural influence. One of the standout reasons behind ancient Rome's incredible rise to power was its unbeatable military prowess. Seriously, the Roman army was legendary, known for its discipline, organization, and effectiveness. Roman soldiers were not just well-trained, but also incredibly well. Think about it. They had armor, weapons, and tactics that were way ahead of their time. This strong military presence allowed Rome to expand its borders dramatically and defend itself against all sorts of external threats. But it wasn't just the army. The Roman navy was a force to be reckoned with, too. It was one of the most powerful in the Mediterranean, enabling Rome to dominate the seas and project its influence far and wide. With a fleet that could rival any other, Rome controlled vital trade routes and ensured that supplies and resources flowed smoothly into the empire. To give you an idea of just how effective this military was, at its peak, the Roman Empire stretched across 3 continents, including Europe, Africa, and Asia. This vast territory was maintained by a combination of military strength and clever strategies, ensuring that Rome not only survived, but thrived for centuries. So, when we talk about the factors that contributed to Rome's success, its military is definitely at the forefront. One of the key factors behind Rome's impressive rise to power was its incredibly advanced political system. The Roman Republic, which came before the empire, was a fascinating representative government that really encouraged some level of participation from the people in the political process. This meant that citizens had a voice, which helped ensure that the government was actually responsive to their needs. It's kind of amazing when you think about it, right? This system also allowed for a smooth and peaceful transfer of power, which is something many modern governments still strive for today. Another standout feature was Rome's sophisticated system of law and order. It wasn't just about rules. It was about maintaining stability and security across the vast empire. For instance, the 12 Tables established a clear set of laws that everyone could understand, promoting fairness and justice. This legal framework helped keep the peace, allowing trade and culture to flourish. Lastly, the combination of these political and legal systems laid the groundwork for Rome's long-lasting influence. With a population of around 1 million at its peak, the Roman Republic set the stage for a civilization that valued civic engagement and the rule of law. These elements contributed significantly to Rome's ability to expand and maintain control over such a vast territory, shaping the future of governance for centuries to come. Isn't it fascinating how those early structures still resonate today? Ancient Rome's cultural influence was a game changer, shaping not just its own empire but also leaving a lasting mark on the world. The art, architecture, literature, and philosophy that emerged from Rome were absolutely groundbreaking. For instance, think about the stunning Colosseum or the intricate designs of Roman aqueducts. These weren't just feats of engineering. They were symbols of Roman ingenuity and power that inspired awe in everyone who encountered them. This cultural richness fostered a sense of unity and identity across the vast empire, connecting people from diverse backgrounds. The spread of Latin literature, with writers like Virgil and Ovid, created a shared cultural narrative that resonated throughout the Mediterranean. This common ground made it easier for conquered peoples to accept Roman rule, as they could find a piece of their own identity reflected in Roman culture. Moreover, Roman philosophy, especially Stoicism, influenced countless generations, encouraging ideas of duty, virtue, and rationality. these principles didn't just govern Roman life. They also laid the groundwork for modern Western thought. So, when we think about Rome, it's clear that its cultural legacy wasn't just about power. It was about creating a lasting impact that shaped societies for centuries to come. Isn't that fascinating? The decline of ancient Rome wasn't just one thing, It was a mix of different factors that all played a role. First off, as the empire expanded, it got way too big and complicated to manage. Can you imagine trying to keep track of such a massive territory? Things started to fall apart, and the infrastructure just couldn't keep up. Then there's the Roman army, which had been a huge part of their success. Over time, they became more dependent on foreign mercenaries. This shift really hurt the quality of the military. And let's not forget about the corruption among the Roman aristocracy. The wealthy folks got so wrapped up in their own lives that they lost touch with what the average person actually needed. It's no wonder things went downhill. The Ottoman Empire was a powerhouse that really made its mark on the world for centuries. Can you imagine? At its height, it stretched all the way from Eastern Europe to the Arabian Peninsula and reached down to North Africa and up to the Caucasus. What's super interesting is how multicultural it was. This empire was a melting pot of different ethnicities and religions living together. It's pretty amazing to think about all those diverse cultures coexisting, right? So, how did they pull it off? The Ottoman Empire rose to such incredible power thanks to a mix of military might, smart economic strategies, and really effective administration. They knew how to get things done. The Ottomans' rise to power, it was heavily influenced by their amazing military. Seriously, this army was not just organized, it was super disciplined, which helped them conquer huge territories. Can you imagine that kind of strength? Now, what's really cool is how innovative they were with their military tactics. They didn't just charge in, they outsmarted larger and more powerful armies. Talk about strategy, right? And let's not forget their navy. The Ottomans maintained a large and effective fleet that let them control the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. This naval power was giving them the edge they needed on the waters. How impressive is that? The Ottomans really knew how to get things done when it came to their rise to power, right? One of the key factors was their super efficient administration. They had a well-organized bureaucracy that could handle everything from collecting taxes to keeping law and order, which is pretty impressive. Another thing that stood out was how they provided public services. It wasn't just about ruling. They genuinely cared about the people in their empire. They made sure that everyone had access to what they needed, which helped build trust and loyalty among the diverse groups they governed. Speaking of diversity, the Ottomans were also skilled at integrating various peoples into their empire. They did this by establishing shared religious and legal norms, creating a sense of unity while still respecting individual cultures. It's fascinating how they managed to bring so many different backgrounds together, isn't it? Finally, the Ottoman Empire's economic strength also played a significant role in its power. The Ottomans controlled important trade routes between Europe and Asia, which brought great wealth to the empire. They also developed a strong agricultural base and a skilled merchant class, which contributed to the empire's economic prosperity. The decline of the Ottoman Empire is a fascinating topic, and it all boils down to a few key factors. First off, as the empire expanded, managing such a vast and complex territory became a real challenge. Imagine trying to keep everything running smoothly across all those lands. It's no wonder things started to slip through the cracks. Then there's the Ottoman army, which had once been the backbone of the empire's power. Unfortunately, over time, the quality and effectiveness of the military began to fade. That's a tough blow when your strength relies on a solid army. And let's not forget about the bureaucracy. Corruption and inefficiency crept in, making it even harder to keep the empire functioning well. With all these issues piling up, it's clear why the Ottoman Empire faced such a significant decline. Powerful nations throughout history didn't just stumble upon their might. Nope, they built it up through a mix of military strength, smart political moves, economic growth, and cultural sway. Think about Great Britain, ancient Rome, and the Ottoman Empire. These guys really knew how to flex their power in the world. But here's the kicker. All empires, no matter how strong, eventually face their downfall. It's like a roller coaster ride. There are ups and downs, right? Internal strife, external pressures, and a whole bunch of other factors led to the decline of these once great powers. So, what's the takeaway? Diving into the stories of these empires can really teach us a lot about power dynamics and the tricky balancing act of keeping it alive over time. It's a wild ride, and understanding it can give us some serious insights into our world today. Now it's time for you to make your voice heard. Which nation do you believe was the most powerful in history and why? Leave a comment below with your thoughts. And if you want to learn more about the most powerful nations in history, be sure to check out the video on the Mongols. Thanks for watching.